Sondra from RareQual, Sam from Poland Syndrome Support and Network UK. It is wonderful to be here with you today on Rare Disease Day. How would you like to get us started off?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'll just introduce myself. So I'm Sam Fillingham. I'm CEO of PIP-UK, the Poland Syndrome Support and Network. My son was born with Poland syndrome 14 years ago now, and that started my journey into rare diseases, something I'm super passionate about, and I love working with my community who are really engaged in Rare Disease Day, Poland Syndrome Awareness Day. We have clinics at Birmingham Children's Hospital. We run well-being and support sessions and events throughout the year to connect our community. So wonderful to be here. Over to you, Sondra. Tell us about.
Oh, over to me. I just have to say thank you so much, Sam and Kimberly, for putting this together. It was their ideas, not mine. As you know, I'm shy and retiring, so I never like to show off at all. But I'm so delighted to be here. So I am Sondra Butterworth. I'm a community health psychologist and CEO and founder of RareQual and the EDIRA project. And the EDIRA has developed over the last year into a fully blown conference, which is what we're talking about today. So during the discussions in this live stream, we will be talking a bit about EDIRA, and Sam and Pip are both going to be involved in different ways in the conference, and we'll be giving you a bit more information about the background to it and what is going to be happening on the conference and so on. So it's all very exciting.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Some of the information that we're about to talk about, to quickly recap for the folks who are listening on Zoom, is we're going to talk a little bit about rare disease equity and how that leads into EDIRA and intersectionality, and also the acronym of URCIID, which I'll explain in just a moment. Then we will talk about what we can expect from EDIRA in May, understanding communities of practice, partnerships, experts in our own experience, new partnership with Sam, Sondra, and myself, and how to get tickets to EDIRA. And hopefully we'll have plenty of time at the end for your questions for the folks who are watching on Zoom or for the folks watching on Facebook. So to jump into that rare disease equity theme that I just mentioned and how that leads into EDIRA and intersectionality, one of the things that we've been talking about today on Rare Disease Day is the theme is equity for people with rare conditions. And that means eliminating barriers and helping all of us to be able to fully participate in society and to be able to have our care needs met in a more efficient way, in a way that is more equal for all of us. And that also takes into account the multiple things happening in human beings' lives. So during one conversation I had with Sondra, we talked about being more than one thing. It is entirely possible to be more than just a patient with a rare disease, or more than a person of color, or more than a woman, or more than a mother, or more than a father. We intersect into so many different areas within life. That also leads into the acronym of URCIID, which is for the undiagnosed, rare, chronically ill, invisibly ill, and humans with disabilities, because you can identify as rare and also identify as a person with a disability. You can also identify as having an invisible illness, which could also be mental illness, or an invisible condition like diabetes or hypermobility. Is certainly invisible until it happens in front of you. So there's so many areas in which, because of Rare Disease Day and the theme, it works so beautifully with what EDIRA aims to do, in that we're bringing together these different elements, and where Sondra is really pioneering this new type of conference. So going back to our agenda, I'm gonna have to send that over to you, Sondra, if you're all right, to talk about what people can expect in May. Oh, and you're on mute.
I knew I'd do that. You know, honestly, I do that so often. Right, yes, EDIRA. For those of you who don't know what EDIRA is about, I'll start with the acronym, EDIRA. So it's Equality, Diversity and Inclusive Research Association. And it started with when I was doing my PhD, to be perfectly honest, at the end of the studies that you do, you have to sort of say, well, so what? What was the point of your study and where will it take you to from here? And the idea is that what I was looking at was people with rare conditions, and I came to the conclusion that a lot of people, there were people with rare skin, genetic conditions, hypermobility, and different sorts of conditions, but many of them felt unseen, invisible, not heard, and so on, and excluded. So it was thinking about how could people, like all of us as three ladies, be more included in the rare disease space when it comes to being involved in research that impacts on policy development and things like that. And so just it was over a year ago, it was during COVID, it was over a year ago, I approached different people and said, do you know much about inclusivity and inclusive research? And would you like to be involved in just some discussions about it? And everyone said yes. They just said yes. And these are the great and the good, you know, professors and everything. And we had 3 meetings, and the meetings involved discussions around the concept of inclusive practice, inclusive research. And from that, we wrote up the sort of conversations and discussions. And then myself, alongside with Associate Professor Dr. Andrew Mitchell from the University of Chester, we then decided to put in a proposal to get ethics to do a small study, which we've done. And then there was so much information. I said, this is enough for a conference. And there you are. The rest is history. So the conference itself is going to be around communities of practice, which will include practice as in health, social care, education, academia, policies, pharma. So we want to bring people in those practices into our space. So it's our party, and we're inviting different people. So we're changing the narrative, we're changing the power dynamic, because too often we're invited into other spaces where we don't really have much of a say or control of what happens where we go to places. So we wanted to be able to create this safe space for us and then have others, so that we can have these discussions about how to include us. Those of us with rare conditions, those of us with from diverse backgrounds, those of us who are underserved because of economic differences, those of us who are excluded. So that's what essentially the conference is about. I wanted to be able to say that Sam is going to be involved in the conference as well. So do you want to just say a little bit about what you're going to be doing, Sam?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sondra has kindly invited me to talk at the conference, and I'm going to be in conversation with the lovely Beth Davenport, talking about my journey with Poland syndrome and the challenges along the way, really. And it was really interesting when Sondra first started talking about EDIRA and thinking about inclusion. And naively, I didn't really think that we were being like excluded. On the surface of it, I knew that we didn't have equity in our care, but that concept of our community as underserved and excluded wasn't really at the forefront of my mind till I started talking to Sondra about it. And then it was really just became pivotal in my mind then of course we're being excluded. Like the people that Sondra is inviting into these communities of practice, the researchers, the pharma, the industry, those are people that we can't get a foot in the door with, that we can't get a place at the table with people like that to improve things for Poland syndrome. And it was just really exciting to hear about a new way of doing things where we can be included and we can start opening the door to communities like ours with Poland syndrome, really. So yeah, this equity in rare is just really exciting to be part of, and to be doing things in a new way, that changing dynamic. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, and it's interesting that we had this conversation yesterday when we were sort of having this rehearsal, and I was saying that very often I get a little bit frustrated when I think people feel that when I'm talking about exclusion or inclusion, I'm just talking about race. Obviously, that is part of it, but there's so many other people, and it's not always just about race, but there's so many other people who are excluded. So if they, for example, may be invited to take part in a study which is in another city or in London, very often in the major cities, aren't they? Just getting there is a major thing. Just the cost, okay, maybe get reimbursement, but that's after the money has been spent in the first place. So there's lots of different reasons why people are excluded. So what we want to do, we're thinking about communities of practice, is at the conference itself, the idea is that you have different communities, as I've explained. So we are the diverse rare disease community, the three of us, aren't we? So we all fit in that. So we have, someone with a rare condition, someone with a carrier from a rare disease family, and a parent of someone with a rare condition. So that's us. So we are a diverse rare disease community, right? So we are a community of practice, just the three of us and those of our network. Okay. And the idea is that if you have a question, for example, around what does inclusion look like for us? That's the question. We may have a very different response to that question than the pharma industry, or to someone in academia. In academia, what does inclusive research or research practice mean to them? It's ethics. It's how to engage. It's about co-creation. It's about funding. So it's very different sorts of responses. But at some point, where there'll be differences, there will be similarities, and that's where we want this communities of practice model to work at the conference.
Yeah, that model of the communities of practice is so interesting, because bringing together those different experts and regarding ourselves as experts in that space as well is so new compared to other work that we've done before that. So to put ourselves on a bit of a parapet of like, look, we are the experts, you do need to come to us now to find out about these diseases, and you're the experts in your field, and please come to us and start listening to us. Community of practice, it's not just going to be on that day, Sondra, is it? This is just the beginning of building.
So thanks for that, Sam. So what we're doing is we're having two conferences. We made the conscious decision to do that, and it was linked to a conversation we had with Costello Medical. They have been so fabulous, I have to say. They've been our main sponsors for pro bono work. They have organised most of this, so all the fabulous graphics that you see has been Costello. But we had a conversation around whether to have it as a hybrid or whether to have it as two separate events. And because of the nature of what we're trying to achieve, because there's a lot going into this conference, it's going to be a really comprehensive conference. It felt it would be too much to have it as a hybrid, because my pet hate is to be attending as a virtual attendee at a conference and you feel as though you're on the outside looking into a goldfish bowl and you're not really engaged. So we wanted it to be those who are in person engaged with an after party, I have to say, and those when we're online engaged. But even that, we want people to eat and meet, because it's going to be international. So you might have someone eating a curry in one part of the country or in part of the world with a pizza in another part of the world. Cliches, I know, but that's the point. And if you do something and meet for lunch, but online prior to the conference, that's a great way of meeting people. So we still want it to be an engaging sort of conference. So the idea is just to pull all these different parts together, and that's why we decided to do it sort of separately. And then within that, there's going to be lots of different sort of activities. There will be the interview and conversation with, Sam said, we're going to have a panel of experts, all in the inclusive space. So talking about inclusion, but from different perspectives. And then we're going to have the community of practice workshop itself, where different people from different communities, we're all going to be talking about inclusion, and we're going to have really, really good graphics, graphical metaphors, as our graphic artist said, for people to use and to take after the conference. And what we're going to be doing is, once the conference is over, it's not the end, because we want to carry on and have 4 seminars. And the platform that we're going to be using for both the in-person, but then once the for the online, but then once the in-person conference and the online conference is finished, the platform will be open to all attendees to be able to attend different activities and to continue the communities of practice. So we hope it's going to be really thriving, diverse, rare disease communities working collaboratively together. So it's going to be fabulous.
It's amazing. And I'm right in saying, Sondra, that the online event and the in-person event are going to be replicas of each other. So
they are.
If you attend just the online, get to in person, you won't miss anything. And
exactly. Yeah, we wanted to. Yeah, I really wanted to do that, and we wanted to make it really inclusive, so that, you know, we're considering people with visual impairments and people who may not want to be seen online. And, you know, we've really taken a lot of trouble to go and make sure it is really inclusive. And yes, we wanted people who, for whatever reason, it might be mobility reasons, they can't come in person. I don't want them to feel as though, we didn't want them to feel as though, oh, well, I'll go to the poor relation, I'll go to the online one, it won't be as good. Yeah, it'll be great, because we're just repeating the same thing, but it'll be a different audience. So the discussions and what comes out of it may be different, but we still want a very rich event for either groups of people.
If I can jump in for just a quick second, and I apologize if we've talked about this before as well, but in talking about the in conversation with Sam and Beth, are there going to be any other sessions that are like that? And then also, I know there has been talk about the keynote speaker. Are we okay to mention at all any speakers or any other of those dynamic conversation pieces? I hope that's okay to ask.
Yeah. So there's going to be another lady as well who's in conversation, and she's going to be in conversation. She's called Hazel Kim, and she's been given an award. She's from a Chinese community, and I've just heard there's a documentary that has been made about her as well. So I'm not sure if Hazel's on here today, but I'm really excited to watch that documentary and the things that she has done for the Chinese community. And she said that she's going to come in traditional Chinese dress, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. That'll be fabulous. Yes, so I've got the programme in front of me. We've got a little bit of an outline on Eventbrite for those of you who are interested in looking at that. But yes, so we've got 2 in conversations with, and then we are going to have a podcast that's going to be part of the conference. And Kimberly, you know about that because you're going to be helping us with it, with 2 people. I won't say who they are as yet, but 2 people who are going to be interviewed, and then we're going to be turning those into 2 little sort of 15 minutes interviews, I suppose, with Kimberly, myself, and our 2 guests. We're going to use that as a sort of resource for after the conference. And then the other interactive pieces about this are related to the communities of practice. So we are going to have like a moderator and a facilitator, and then a guest, and each of the moderators will be feeding back the information. And part of what we're doing is we're going to be getting all the dialogue and the information and writing everything up as a paper from the conference. So that's a really important aspect, which I should have included. We can't announce the keynote speaker yet, but we are looking at having a a keynote speaker as well. And then I suppose those are the main things that we're going to be doing, but we will be feeding back some of the research that's been happening. So we've got, for example, one of the projects that we're doing in RareQual is working with Dr. Emma Lane from Cardiff University, and it's with a project that's funded by Michael J. Fox Foundation into Parkinson's, and that's about inclusion. And it's EDIRA in practice, essentially. And Emma is going to be speaking about some of the work around that. Then we've got one of our sponsors from Couch Health, Dr. Natasha Ratcliffe, and she's been doing some work, or Couch Health have been doing some work. They're based in Manchester. Around inclusion and working closely with pharma companies, particularly in America, and working with different diverse communities and getting them involved in clinical research. We've got Associate Professor Andrew Mitchell, and he's been talking about some of the work that he will be talking about, some of the work around frontiers for psychology. So that is a publication, and we've had a call out for inclusive research, and some of the papers that have been published under the sort of EDIRA-ish banner will be ready by then, will be out by then. So hopefully we can share some of the information from those as well. So there's a lot that's going to be in the event. We will be filming, and we're going to create a documentary, hopefully, from the conference, but we want to be able to create more work after the conference to be able to create resources, and that will then link in with what we want to do later on, which is going to be RareQual Consulting. Yes, and both you ladies are going to be part of that. So this is where we're talking about our partnership. Is that what you wanted me to say, Kimberly, in a very long-winded way? I got there in the end.
No, you're fine. It's funny because I was thinking about, some of the other things, because we're actually doing fairly well on time and we've actually covered quite a lot. And I was actually thinking about what we talked about yesterday in terms of having another similar stream as we're having right now to go into some more depth of what people can expect and what value they will get from the EDIRA conference, whether they're attending in person or online. But going back to partnerships, I'd like to come back to Sam and actually ask Sam, sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Sam, to ask you, about your partnership with RareQual and the genesis of that. And then I'm happy to talk more about that after. But I want to hear from you right now, if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So we recently announced with Sondra a partnership with PIP-UK and RareQual, which is super exciting. So we've been part of the RareQual network for a while now, and Sondra and her wonderful team have been helping me and PIP-UK for well over 12 months now, including with some interns from Chester University last year and many other pieces of work that they've supported me with. So it's really wonderful that we've been able to formalise our partnership this year moving forward. So we've sat down and had a look at where we have commonality across all our pieces of work and what we can do to help each other. So we've got some really cool stuff coming up this year. EDIRA, obviously, which we've covered. I'm working on a medical symposium for Poland syndrome, where I want to bring together surgeons and experts in Poland syndrome to look at early treatment plans, because we've got a lot of issues there in our community. And Sondra is going to be part of that panel as well, which is wonderful to be working on.
Scary. It's a bit scary, that, Sam. Or will they be more scared of me? I don't know.
Yeah, but wonderful. A first for us, but a much needed one, and it'll be wonderful to have you as part of that. Wellbeing is a big part of the work that we do at PIP-UK, and that's another part of collaboration that we hope to do later this year. Once we've got all these big pieces of work out the way first, we're going to move into working on that together as well. So we've got some exciting stuff ahead as this partnership, and it's just the beginning, Sondra, isn't it?
I know it is, yeah. So to sort of pick up on that, what we've decided to do is thinking of at the beginning of this, we were saying about the underserved, and there's many of us who get excluded. So we've sort of gone to approach people who are like-minded, I suppose, people in this same space. And what we decided that we would do was to use EDIRA, the conference, as a springboard to promote what we want to do going forward, and hence that will be the Rare Qual Consulting. So we have sort of this business support manager who helps us, and they said that the model that we are developing is a Robin Hood model of business, which I like. So stealing from the rich to give to the poor. So I suppose what we want to be able to do from the consultancy is use our skills and knowledge and expertise, and we are going to be, it's us, it's people like us, it's people like I know Alan's on here, and Humi and Beth, and Sam and Kimberly. We're from the rare disease space, diverse communities, etc. We got stuff to say, we know a lot, and we've got expertise, and we're more than one thing. So I daren't do it, but if you put all the years of expertise we've got together, it's hundreds of years, folks. It's hundreds of years. So if you put all that together, and then you map all those different sorts of expertise that we've got, it'll be a phenomenal consultancy. So both Kimberly and Sam know what we've been, and Humi and knows who's on here. What we've been doing is we've asked people to be consultants. So we've approached people rather than put a big call out for anybody and everybody. We're going to be approaching people, and then we're trying to make sure that we get people with a good range of skills, so that if we want to do a particular project, we could say we need people with lived experience of this, and this, who can also be a broadcaster, who can also be a researcher, who also knows how to run clinics. Oh, that's me, Sam and Kimberly. There you go. We're on a project, and let's see if we can get some funding for that. That's the way that we want to do it. And I also recognize now that the dialogue is changing, and people are starting to realize that patient groups, charity groups, carers, advocates, and so on, instead of asking at the end of a funded project, can you tell us what you think about our project, and then calling that inclusion, that's not inclusion. That's not ticking a box at the end. So because people like us are having to be asked at the beginning, at the design stage, we need to sort ourselves out and professionalize ourselves so that we've got something good to offer. So they can't get away with saying, can you give me all your work, Sondra, for 5 years, and here's a gift voucher for your trouble. No more. So what we're doing is we're trying to professionalize ourselves into the consultancy, and I just think it's going to be a winner. So leading on from EDIRA, when we have our seminars, we're going to have think tanks, and we're going to charge people to come to talk to us, and so on and so forth. So we're going to have 4 seminars that are from EDIRA, one in September, December, March and May. And we will announce now that we will be having a follow-up EDIRA conference in 2024, where we will showcase all this work that we've done from EDIRA and from Rare Qual Consulting. And who knows where we'll go from there.
I feel like when you've just said that, I feel like that's such a great lead into all the work that will be done during EDIRA, and then people being, hopefully will be more encouraged to participate, knowing that the following year, the fruits of their labor will be showcased, and they will have that opportunity to share all the work that has been done. It's not like it's being done sort of in the corners and in the spaces that we can find. It's out in the open, people are working together, and people will be able to showcase that hard work. So I find that very exciting. We're doing really amazingly on time. I would say, let's see, another 10 minutes before we take some questions to give folks some time to put in some more questions. We currently have a few questions, but if we go back to our agenda very quickly, let's see, is there
Just see.
Ah, we haven't talked about tickets. That's an important one.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes, so I think, yes, we've got a link in the webinar chat to the Eventbrite page. So as I said before, we decided to make it 2 separate events. So I'm hopeful. It looks as if we've checked it out and everything, but the two platforms for both events. So there's Eventbrite in person and Eventbrite virtual or online. And the 2 different ticket prices. The in-person ticket price is more expensive because there's food. There's 2 lots at a party that we have to pay for and a venue. So hopefully we'll cover our costs, but they're very reasonably priced that people can have a look at. And what we have done is we've given a lot of information really on the Eventbrite page, so people can get a little bit of the background of what we've done, a very brief summary of what the programs will be, but we're going to have a lot more information before the program starts. Okay, and we've got the in-person event, and there is no link to the event for the in-person one. We haven't created that yet. So what is going to happen is the swap card platform will have an integrated Zoom. So it'll be integrated with Zoom like this. So as well as the workshops will be in rooms, there will also be a platform where participants can upload their details if they choose, because we will be having a code of conduct to make sure that everybody who behaves correctly and they recognise that it's a safe space for people, and if people can make a complaint if they feel that they're being harassed online or if someone's trying to recruit them for a trial, when it's not a space for recruiting people for trials and so on. That could be done outside of the space. This space is a safe space for people to share information. So we want to make sure people do know that. And so the link will be released later. People can't share the link, but if people do want to, can't make it and they have to substitute someone else, then we ask them to re-register the new person, because people have different needs and so on and so forth. And so you just have to click on that link and you'll see that the 2 conferences are together, and you'll see one says in person and one says virtual. You can go to both if you choose. The in-person, we only have a limited number of people who can attend. So that's limited to 120 people. And we deliberately wanted not to have too many of that. That's about right. And then we've got about 1,000 people who've offered to help. So we've had to sort of limit the helpers. And then online, we have the capacity to have a lot more. And the other thing I should add that we're doing is that we have Rare Community Network members. And for those people who are Rare Community Network members, we are allowing you to come, if you would like, to come to the online event for free. And we'll give you a code if you're a member. And you can also upload any work or information about your website or anything like that onto the platform, because it hosts a sort of mini website that people can have information on. So there are many people who are advocates and things who are coming who don't have their own website, but they might want to promote the work that they do. So that's going to be on there, and that's going to be there for 12 months till the next event. So that's all free for for people. So that's the Robin Hood thing, I'm afraid. So sponsors are paying and the community are coming for free. So I think that's a good trade-off. That's equity as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, so that's basically how it will work. But you can always email us and we can help you log in, or anything that you're not sure of with registering and so on.
That is fantastic. Thank you again for giving some more information on the ticket process. I have posted on both the Facebook chat for our live viewers on Facebook, which we do have some live viewers on Facebook, so yay. So thank you for those of you who are watching on Facebook. And we also have attendees here on Zoom. And the link to Eventbrite to look at tickets is on both. So in the Zoom chat as well as the Facebook chat. There's just a few more minutes. I'd say five more minutes for people to submit their questions. We have a few questions and a comment. And so folks, if you do have any questions based on anything that you've just heard, please do get those questions in now before we start to wind things down in the next few minutes. So if I say we have about 4 minutes until we start getting into those questions, is there anything else that is coming to mind that we should probably touch on? I'm just thinking, Sam, is there anything else that you want to make sure that we haven't missed? Because I have to admit, I am watching like multiple screens and multiple chats and multiple windows and the agenda, and I'm not as able to focus as I would like to. But Sam, if there's anything that we're missing, please let us know. It's very important.
Say, and if it's not come out already, I'll just say it a bit more explicitly. If you are in a rare disease group, charity, organisation like mine, if you are alone in your quest to make the changes that you want to make, and you are knocking on doors and having them closed regularly, then this is the space for you to come and have those doors opened once and for all. There is going to be so much value to all organisations in rare that are not getting a seat at the table to come along to EDIRA, whether that be in person or online. This is not a once and done conference. This is the beginning of a revolution in rare, and we are a strong force together, and this is the beginning of something really special. So I really hope that everyone listening, running a small organisation, volunteering, a small organisation in rare that is frustrated and not getting anywhere, come to EDIRA and let's get there together, because things are changing and we are going to be that change that we all want to see.
You really
Thanks,
nailed it
Sam.
there. I mean, that is, I think, the phrase of the day is to be the change that you want to see. And I think in our communities for a really long time, and we've talked about this in the RCnet, is that we've all been kind of listening to people say, putting things forward, pharmaceutical companies or public policymakers or different other stakeholders that aren't actually us, saying, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And, there's consultation periods, and then there's this, and then there's that, and things drag on for a long time. And then at the end of the day, we're no better off than we were. And so this is one of those moments where I think we've all been itching to finally come together and actually be the strong force that we are and that we are capable of being. So I really hope that that is something that comes across to folks as they're listening. And even if folks watch back on playback, that you get the sense that this is now the time. A lot of things have converged for our communities. The access to technology, the access to, researchers, and the work that's being done with white papers. As I look at Sam and smile, there's so much that's going on, and there's so much that we have to share. And we're now finding those ways to come together and do that. So as I finish waffling and talking, there are some questions, and we've had another question come in. So ladies, are you okay for me to open the question and answer period?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, great.
Hope they're not hard questions, though.
Oh, you know what? We have a very friendly audience here on Facebook and Zoom, and I think we can be very thankful. So thank you to the
Okay.
folks who have submitted. So I have a question from my friend, Marie James. Hi, Marie. Will EDIRA cover the issues that exclude children and adults with learning disabilities from accessing research opportunities?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Is it my Humie's on here, and she may have some comments about this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with EDIRA, we're working not rare qual. But there's one of these speakers who's coming to the conference. He's one of the panelists from the University of South Wales, and he's Dr. Edward Olaodi. Sorry, Edward, the pronunciation of your last name. And they're doing some work with people with learning disabilities involved in research, and we are looking at doing some joined up working with them as rare qual. And Edward was one of the original members of EDIRA when we had the actual initial meetings, if you like, and that's where we sort of connected. And he is a specialist in learning disabilities, as is Hughie Webb, who's on the call as well. And we're hoping that some of the group of researchers that are led by Edward are going to be attending the event, and they're focusing on people who don't necessarily have capacity to give consent because of cognitive impairment, etc., and how to include those in research. So my background and my passion is around mixed methodologies. And when you have research, very often people see it as in a clinical environment over there on the island of hospital, there with white coats in all clinical settings, etc. Okay, but patients, most of their lives are not there. They live in the real world at homes and so on. And that includes people who lack capacity, or people like we've discussed in the past, diverse communities and so on. And so when looking at research, it needs to be more inclusive, and that includes how people are engaged with, how people are communicated with through research. So when with the EDIRA framework, what we are trying to achieve is, for example, to have like a tick box. So if people are doing research, they have to go through ethics. And with the ethics, it's usually, it gets more complicated and so on, the more clinical, I suppose, the subject is. However, they all have to include sections around the participants. And more studies are researchers finding that they're having to include, how did you engage with the participants in the design of the research? So if your participants have learning disabilities, or if they're children, or if they've got dementia or Parkinson's, the researchers have to think more carefully, how are they going to include people? Yeah, and that's what EDIRA is. That's what we're trying to do. So we're trying to say, let's look at the communication section of the ethics form. Traditionally, have you communicated with the participants? Yes. That's not enough now. You can't just say it's how. Who did they understand? If they didn't understand, what did you do to ensure that they understood? Did you have, like for children, sometimes you have to create pictures for them to understand what it is you're doing, easy read documents and so that's just on communication. Never mind access, never mind economics, never mind payment. So all these things to do with inclusion are largely missed by the researchers, who very often are removed so far from the people that they're researching on, not with, that they don't understand these things are important, and they're too hard to reach. Why aren't people, why aren't people getting involved in our research? Because you're putting the study on your website and they haven't even got a computer. That's why. You put in a survey on the internet and they haven't got enough for food, so they haven't paid their mobile phone bill. So that's why they're not getting involved. Take the research to them, she says. I'm going to get off my soapbox in a minute. So yes, I feel really passionate about that. So thank you, Marie, for...
Yes. I was just going to ask if I could jump in and parcel what you said up, and then you can correct me if I misunderstood. So What I'm hearing in response to Marie's question is basically the short answer is yes, that there are issues that you are cognitive of, and we are all cognizant of, that there are issues excluding children and adults with learning disabilities. And the goal is access and equity and opportunity. So the short answer to that question is yes. But it sounds like from what you're saying, Sondra, there's a lot of different categories in which folks fall in our communities. And then it is kind of a process of looking at the different parts of our communities, how we fit together, and how we translate that into the research opportunities or to the people who are looking to connect with these communities. Am I making an accurate statement?
Most, yeah. So it's thinking of the process of designing a research study. Yeah. So there's different types of research, from people sitting in a room just talking about their experience. And then there's clinical trials in they use test tubes and chemicals. They're all research, but some are on whole people and others are on bits of people, as we've had this conversation before. Yeah. And very often, we've been approached in RareQual by some different scientists, I suppose, who are not used to dealing with whole people, just bits of people. So now they're being told they have to deal with whole people and communicate the research in a user-friendly way so that people can understand what it is they want to achieve. So when they communicate, they have to look at the use of language even, yeah, and go and communicate through, I suppose, gatekeepers or advocates to enable the person with learning disabilities or dementia or cognitive impairment or speech impairment to participate. So it's basically saying that at the design stage, that has to be included right at the beginning, not a oops at the end. Oh, we wanted to include people with learning disabilities, but they haven't turned up. Why haven't they turned? You got to get it right at the beginning and see and include people with learning disabilities, and don't just give them Kit Kats and Amazon gift vouchers for their participation either. Do you know what I mean? Make sure people are valued for their participation.
Absolutely. Okay. So I don't want to cut into what you're saying, but we have a few more questions, and we have a question for Sam now as well. No, you're fine. I hate to interrupt, but at the same time, got to be that taskmaster. So we do have a question from Hummy. I hope I'm pronouncing her Humi. Okay. So Humi says, "Hi Sam, have you seen an increased interest in Poland syndrome since Matt Goss disclosed that he had the condition during his stint on last year's Strictly Come Dancing?"
Very good question, Hugh.
Oh,
I'm really happy to answer, but I just noticed there's a couple of comments from Hugh and Marie just to round off that last topic, and I don't want to miss them. So Marie's just said, great, thank you, good to know the issues, as you say, a capacity, consent, and also the criteria from form filling, etc. So that's good. Marie's happy with that answer. And Humi said that there's ongoing work with the University of South Wales, and she currently represents RECOL on the Ethnic Minority Research Advisory Group, where she provides guidance to university researchers at the question engagement stage for people with learning disabilities and their families and support systems. So some amazing work going on there.
yeah. Thanks, Humi. I couldn't remember the name. I'm sort of, but thank you for that. Yeah, we're really looking forward to doing some more work with them.
Absolutely. So back to Matt Goss and Glitzy Strictly and Poland syndrome. In short, yes, Humi, a lot more interest in Poland syndrome. It's generated a lot of inquiries from people who didn't realise they had Poland syndrome, or if they did realise they had it, they didn't know there was other people out there with it. So it generated a heck of a lot of interest and a lot of work for our organisation to cover as well, and a real influx that we weren't expecting and couldn't really cope with. And it came at a time where the NHS was really suffering as well, so a lot of people needed a lot of extra support. So we were really glad to have that extra awareness. But as Sondra referred to earlier, it didn't come with any extra donations, and no one paid for all the extra work that created as well. So it brought some interesting problems that are actually leading to a big level of growth within our organisation to expand our resources to make sure that we're set up for the larger community and that is continuing to grow. We had a community member this week that did a press release and it went mad, and we got
Oh,
loads of
really?
response. Yeah, and I've written
What was
hundreds of
that?
for years and never had a response. So it
Oh,
caught us
right.
all off. And that was just one of our volunteers, a mum, talking about her journey with her young son. And we're going to Scottish Parliament next month for their rare disease reception together.
Oh,
And it
brilliant.
in Scottish newspapers. The response has been amazing.
Mm,
So
yeah,
real traction that we've not had before, but it
yeah.
comes at a big cost, a cost to that family that we weren't really prepared for, and then the cost to the resources of the contacts that you get after that.
Mm, yeah.
So,
Because so many of us are in this space where it's predominantly a one-man band, or with less than a handful of people who do a lot of work, and you're like us, aren't you, Sam, with not many resources, but somehow, through hope and glory, we get things done. Kimberly, you're the same, but hopeful that you'd be able to get more support for your charity and things.
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. That was Sam, you had kind of taken care of the other items that were in the questions, and Sandra, you answered one that was in the chat. So I think unless I'm missing any, I don't see any other questions at this time. And we've
To mention before, but I just wanted to do a promotion really for the e-learning approach that we want to have. So, this again is part of what we were talking about with the consultancy, is some of the sort of side issues that are not in the great and the goods arsenal, in a set format of training manuals, if you like. So stuff that you've just spoken about, Sam, how to deal with families, how to deal with a pop star who goes on TV, and it's not in the manual, is it? But there are things that we experience that we perhaps can put together as little top tips, or a short information booklet about a how-to guide. And that's what the three of us have been talking about, and Humi's on the channel as well, that we've been talking about putting things like that together to hopefully be able to produce some revenue for our charities.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of those ones that I'm going to start out with is how to build your patient registry, which I know a lot of people will be interested, and we've been quite successful in. And so, yeah, it's going to be exciting to put together.
It is going to, and showcase it all. And that'll lead to what we hope to have is an EDIRA Academy. That's the dream up there. We'll do it, because EDIRA was a dream and it's here. So there we go.
everything starts off as a dream, doesn't it? Everything that all of us have done, if you think about it, probably started off as just one thought. For me, it was that thought at 3 o'clock in the morning, like how do we actually reach people? Because posting on social media is not doing it, and asking people to share is not doing it, and calling newspapers and calling studios, all of that was not doing it. But now, not just, everybody's effort, everybody pulling in together, it amazes me how much is being accomplished. So now we're just about done. We have only just a few seconds left. I know it flies right by, doesn't it? So one thing I think I mentioned before is just make sure that we quickly share with folks verbally, and I will also put in all the various social medias and on the pages your social medias and your websites and best ways to contact you. so that folks can have that to hand. And of course, it will still be in the post, but I'll kick it back to you ladies to finish up with that if you're happy with that.
Yeah, well, you can contact me at sondra.butterworth@rarequal.co.uk, and our website is rarequal.com, www.rarequal.com. Easy as that. Okay.
Brilliant.
Sam?
And our website is pip-uk.org, so that's a really easy one. Or feel free to email me on sam.pipuk@gmail.com.
Fantastic. And I sometimes just assume everybody knows how to contact me. I just feel like I'm one of those random people who's out there. It's like everybody knows how to get in touch with me. But I'm Kimberly Thomas Tague. I'm with Dazzle for Rare. I am the one person show there. You can find Dazzle for Rare at dazzle4rare.net. Or you can contact me at kimberly@dazzleforrare.net. And we also have a Facebook page where this is live streaming. So unless I'm missing anything, this is your last chance, Sam and Sondra. Am I missing anything?
I'm so delighted that the three of us are going to be working more closely together. We're going to be doing more recording. So Kimberly and Sam are going to be part of the Rarequal consulting. We're going to have fabulous time together. Yeah, so thank you both very much for that and for doing this and promoting EDIRA.
Thanks everyone that joined us, and happy Rare Disease Day, everyone. Woo!
Yes, happy Rare Disease Day, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in.
We made it to Rare Disease Day 2023, and may we all see a Rare Disease Day 2024 together. Thanks everybody for joining us. I really appreciate it, and thank you, Sam, for helping set the Zoom stuff up, and Sondra for the slide. And it takes a village, so we all got there in the end.
Yeah,
and
thank you so much. And this will be recorded for people who weren't able to make it as well.
Yes, so it'll stay on the Facebook page. It also is recorded to the Zoom cloud, and I'm recording it locally on my machine as I live produce. The next time we do this, I need to maybe like have extra hands or something. I hope that my live production has worked. Fingers crossed. But I look forward to doing this again, ladies. Thank you so much. And am I good to end the stream now? We good?
I think so. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Goodbye. Thank you, everyone.